Hey there. Geometry. We are in lesson 11. That one needs to go away. Unit 1, lesson 11. So we're still in our transformation unit. So we did constructions, we're in transformations, we're in the second lesson of reflections. So lesson 10 was reflections, lesson 11 is also reflections. They're very cool. I'm not ready. Sorry. I want to make sure I have your sheet in front of me. So there we are. I want to make sure I don't miss something I'm supposed to teach you. So here we have our warm-up. So here we're going to compare 4 figures. It gives us a reason to use language precisely. In geometry, it's really important to use language precisely. So let's look at these 4 figures. Move this up a little bit. Which one doesn't belong? I think it's figure 1 because it's the only one that the 2 segments are not perpendicular. Or sorry, the line and the segment are not perpendicular. See, precise language. L is a line. AB is a segment. AB are cut into perfect segment, like perfect halves. So line L is the midpoint of AB because we see that little tick mark there and that little tick mark there. That means that this is 5 units, that's 5 units. And if I look over here, this is 4 and that's 6. So it's not a perpendicular bisector. Okay, there's some more precise language. It's perpendicular, but not a bisector. L is a bisector, but not perpendicular. Here, perpendicular bisector. Perfect. Here, perpendicular bisector. Yay. But we're 5 and 5 and 7 and 7. So figure 4 is not the same measurement. So there's always great reasons for which one doesn't belong. And I love that there's so many different entries into figuring out what those great reasons are. And we get to practice our vocabulary, which is so important. All right, I am going to post some what's the point data card sort in Google Doc. And I'd love for you just to go through there and match up to your Google Doc in Classroom. You'll see a card sort where, I mean, here, if we had a classroom where we were all together, I would give some students the data card and some students the problem card. And you would silently read the card and start talking back and forth with your neighbor. But in our Google Doc, you're just going to play a matching game, okay? Figure out which data cards go with which problem cards, all right? And you can always type in some comments in the document if you want to talk to me about it. Okay, so here, your teacher will give you either a problem card or a data card. Do not show or read your card to your partner. Okay, and here it says, if your teacher gives you the data card, silently read it, ask your partner what specific information. Before telling your partner the information, ask why do you need it. Yeah, so there we go. So let's finish. Our last little task in lesson 11 is triangle in the mirror. And I'm actually going to come over here to the digital copy. There we are. So Kieran started reflecting triangle CDE across line M. So far, he knows the image D is called D prime and the image E is called E prime. Under here, let me read the paper copy because I can never see that first one. It's so weird how it cuts off like that. Annotate Kieran's diagram to show how he reflected D. So really, to reflect these is a little more challenging. So if I'm reflecting D, I need the distance from D to the line to be the same as the distance from D prime to the line. And the best way to do that is using a circle, all right? So what I really need is a point. Well, I'm just gonna draw a circle. We're gonna point there. going to draw a circle through a given point around D. All right, and we see that we got D there, but we don't know that's where D prime should be until we do the same circle from another given point on the line. Now I see that the intersection of one circle and another circle is where D and D prime need to be. All right? So we're annotating, yep, reflected point D. So we drew, first I needed to put 2 dots on my line M and then draw a circle through from this point to D and from this point to D to give me the intersection where D prime goes. All right? I'm going to erase those now. Number 2, use a straight edge and a compass. Use straight edge and compass moves to determine the location of C prime. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing. I think I hit it. That means the intersection of this circle and that circle become C prime right there. Then lightly shade in triangle C prime, D prime. That's C prime, D prime, E prime. Okay? Write a set of instructions for how to reflect any point P across a given line. Okay, another construction, very important. First, we need to add 2 points to line M and do a circle through 1 point to the pre-image point, and then circle through the other point. Let's name those. We'll call them X and Y. Add 2 points, X and Y. There we go. Circle through 1 point, through X point to the image, circle through the other point to the pre-image. And then mark the intersection of the 2 circles as the new image of the point. Okay, let's come over here and we can, my pointer, we can very easily do that again. Okay, what I just wrote down was, you can always pause it, go back there and look. Put 2 points on line M, draw a circle through, we'll call that point X, to, let's do C, to the image, and the other point to the image, mark the intersection of those 2 circles, and you have your, this is the pre-image, and you have your image. Sorry. The old point is the pre-image, and the new point is the image. And now I know this is C prime. Cool? Let's see. Set of instructions. Alina found C prime incorrectly. Alina is convinced that triangle, let's see. There we go. Alina is convinced that triangle CDE looks fine. Explain to Alina why her C prime is not a reflection point across M. We can say it's not because the distance, if we put a point here, awesome. If I put a point here and I drew a circle with that point as my center and a circle with that point as my center, It's not where the C prime is not at the intersection of those circles. Okay, that's how we know. Yep. All right. So we have just learned how to reflect things across a line. Okay, we just reflected. We just reflected point C across line M. And actually, I'm going to take it one step further. You might want to write this down. I know that this blue line I just drew through C and C prime is perpendicular to line M. Okay, that's really important. I can draw the line through D and D prime is perpendicular to line M. The line through E and E prime is perpendicular to line M. All right, it's a really important sort of tie it all up. So we learned how to reflect an object, which is a point, over a line. Okay, oops. There's our summary. Reflecting a point across a line, it's at perpendicular, and that's where we are. All right, I'll cut this off. Good job.